Term. And this morning we're going to look back and look ahead to tonight with our guest Mike Long. Now he's a former speechwriter on Capitol Hill and he's now the director of the White House Writers Group. Good morning from Washington, Mike.
Hi Heather, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Looking forward to our discussion. We were just listening to some of the highlights of Sarah Palin's national debut. The Republicans in the room seemed to love her in terms of presentation and speech. What did you think?
Well, as my friend Jonah Goldberg put it late last night, looks like Sarah Palin was put on earth for two things: to kill caribou and kick butt, and she's all out of caribou.
So she did what she had to do in the butt-kicking department, did she?
I think so. She exceeded all expectations, and I'll tell you what was most amazing is all this vicious attacking of her family over the past few days sort of came back to bite her opponents. It gave her license to come out and swing the guns and knives at them. She came out with righteous indignation, and I think Republicans are totally fired up, and people who haven't been paying attention are paying attention now. Righteous
indignation and sharp barbs, but you know what? A lot of humor too, and that's something we haven't heard very much in the campaign. That seemed to be very effective.
Oh, it was wonderfully effective, and Peggy Noonan wrote a great column about that yesterday in the Wall Street Journal. And I think that humor is what made this work for her, among many things, but especially humor. She came out and had that iron fist and the velvet glove. She was fun to listen to, and as she stuck the knife in her opponent, you didn't seem to mind. She seemed to be saying what was in her heart and what was in her mind. It was beyond expectations.
So when you talk about the expectations, I mean, those were enormous for her. It was a tall order to fill. Introduce herself, energize the base, reach out at the same time to those independents and swing voters watching closely. Did she accomplish all of her goals in what you heard?
I think she did. There's one goal that's hard to tell. There are three things these speeches have to do. One is make you look like you're ready for the job. Number two is fire up the base. And number three is begin to reach out to undecided voters. I think she made a great appeal to folks who hadn't quite gotten engaged yet. Whether she succeeded in that, we won't know for a while. But if the goal is to look like somebody who is the audience, who say, hey, I'm one of you and I have some good ideas that reflect your values. If that's the bar, then she absolutely met it right there. And I as a Republican, I'm quite surprised that she did it so well. There's a lot of over-the-top talk this morning in Republican circles about a new Thatcher, a new Reagan. It's way too early to say those kind of things, but she certainly inspires a great deal of optimism on our side.
And building on that, tonight is John McCain's moment. So let's look to that. From everything I've read so far, he's going to talk large part foreign policy, large part personal story of heroism. What do you think the key messages are going to be?
Well, Heather, I think you had it exactly right when you talked about the humor and the effectiveness of humor for Sarah Palin. I think that's something John McCain has to do. He's not, and I'm a speechwriter by trade, and so I'm trying to talk about it from that respect instead of as a partisan. He's got to do the kind of thing she did, which was make himself accessible, friendly, likable to the audience. The big themes, experience, all this worry in the past 48, 72 hours about not being able to talk about experience anymore. Sarah Palin wiped that off the table with the back of her hand last night. He can talk about the experience he has, the experience Obama doesn't have. He can talk about the decisions, about the surge, that Obama was wrong on the surge and McCain was right on the surge. That's the kind of decision that presidents make. It's the only presidential sort of decision Obama's been a part of since he came into office, and he got it wrong. That's a powerful argument.
Is he going to be talking, as he delivers those key messages, to the people in that room who haven't always been so strongly on side John McCain, or is he going to be talking outside to the people watching the television, the people who maybe as yet haven't decided?
Well, he's obviously gotten a lot more people on board with the excitement about Palin. That, as I say, that wipes the slate clean for a lot of folks, because McCain was not the choice of the true believers. McCain was the choice of the Republican Party at large, and that's a different group. So he is probably best served by reaching out to the folks who haven't quite turned on to him yet. But I don't think he ought to soften his message. Look how successful Palin was with coming out honestly about what she said, about what she felt. She did not hold back or equivocate in any way. McCain can follow that lead. 24 hours ago, I would have told you something different. She changed the game.
Mike, enjoyed this so much. Thank you very much for being our guest this morning.
Heather.
Mike Long
Thank you
from
very
Washington. Much more coming up from the Republican convention today. And if you want to see John McCain's speech, of course, tonight you can on CBC News World.
To Americans who have yet to decide who to vote for,